This is James Lupton, delighted to be joined with Courtney Bennett, heavyweight prospect, 1-0 currently. Courtney, how we doing?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. How you doing?
Good stuff, yeah, not too bad at all. Let's go back to the beginning. Talk to me a little bit about how you got into the sport of boxing and why.
How I got into sport boxing. Basically, I had a friend. Um, he was got in a bit of trouble. And the first boxing gym I went to, there was in a campaign of jab, don't stab, and he got caught carrying a knife. So instead of going to prison, he had to go to the boxing gym as a bit of like a probation thing. And was hanging out outside my house one day, and he was like, "Oh, can you follow me to a boxing gym?" I said, "Oh, no," I said, "I don't want to do that." Said, he's like, "Oh, please, man." He's like, "Only for an hour." So we went there. There's a group of about 12 of us went there. Um, went in there, and there was a coach there at the time. His name's Terry Chapandama. He took all of us on the pads and whatever. I said, "Oh no," I said, "I'm not. This is not for me." I didn't want to do it at all. I didn't like it. I was a bit overweight at the time. Whatever, I said, "I'm not doing it." You had to go there twice a week. So we went there again. Um, that was on the Monday. We went there again on the Wednesday. Begged me to follow him again. I said, "Oh no, no, I don't want to go." Kept begging me, begging me. I was like, "Oh, let's go one more time." Went there and actually enjoyed that session. And we done a bit of like technical sparring and stuff. And I just like felt like I got a little thrill of like punching someone in the face. So yeah, it was I didn't know, just been carrying on going from there, to be honest.
Now, a question that might have been asked you before, and it's something that's asked to a lot of boxers,
Yeah,
is has it changed your life? But you mentioned obviously a friend of yours, he obviously had to go there instead of potentially prison,
yeah.
maybe some sort of trouble with the police. How did it change, impact your friends' lives, your group of your circle of friends as well?
To be fair, I'm the only one that still does boxing, but I'd say it's changed my life massively. But don't get me wrong, all my friends are on the right path now, all doing what they need to be doing, got jobs and etc. But with me, I think if I didn't go that day, I could have went down the wrong path and doing things. Because at the time, I used to smoke and stuff. So training and smoking was not a good combination. So I packed in the smoking and stuff. But yeah, I think it's changed my life massively, especially the area I grew up in, quite a rough area. So yeah, it has changed my life massively.
And I'd say you had a successful amateur career. I believe you was on Team GB. You won a few national titles. Talk to me about your amateur career and what do you look back on with fond memories?
Yeah, as an amateur career, I started off double jab ABC down in New Cross from that near from where I'm from. I boxed, had a few competitions there, got to elite finals there, lost on a split decision. Then I moved on to Churchill's, boxed there a few times. Um, and then yeah, I went to a club called Royal Resistance, got into the GB team, and just pushed on from there. Had a few international tournaments, got a silver and a bronze in international tournaments. So yeah, it's not a bad amateur career.
Absolutely. And also, you're now pro. Why did you turn over?
Uh, I had some I had some issues at home, so with my daughter, so I had to be like I'm full time. I've got my daughter full time at the moment, so I couldn't commit to being up GB Monday to Thursday every week. So because I couldn't commit that, I just asked I had to speak with Rob McCracken, and I said to Rob McCracken that I asked him if I could be released. I told him my situation about my daughter and stuff, and he was very understanding, very nice man. And yeah, he released me and let me go. So and then I thought, you know what? I think this is about time. I didn't box. I didn't do no boxing for about 3 4 months, and then started training with because I was training with Donald Smith before when I was on the GB squad. When I come down, I trained with Donald Smith. But then I was like, after about 3 4 months, I got in contact with Donald again, and I was like, listen, I want to turn over now. So yeah, I think it was the right time for me to turn over.
I see you mentioned Donald Smith there. Big Don's just joined us on the call. Don, how are you doing?
How you doing, guys? You right? Sorry I'm late.
That's all right. Are you doing? You well?
Very well, my friend. Very well, thank you. It's just having a few technical laptop issues, but I'm happy to be here, enjoying.
No problems at all. We are already recording. Don, just want to speak to yourself very quickly
Sure.
about obviously Courtney's mentioned there. You
Yeah.
guys worked together when he was on Team GB as an amateur, and obviously you now work together in the professional ranks. What's it like working with Courtney and training Courtney?
Oh, it's brilliant. You know, Courtney's a really great fighter. He's very intelligent, very passionate about what he does, you know, and I'm grateful for the opportunity and the experience that we're having together and that we're sharing, you know. I always felt that once we got together and started working on a more consistent basis, you know, things would start flowing a lot more. And obviously, with him not being a GB and he's down the gym more, you know, we've got a better understanding of each other and things are flowing. So I'm really, really excited about the future and really excited about what he's about to produce in the professional ranks. You know?
Absolutely. For yourself, then, as a trainer, obviously Courtney's a heavyweight. You train different fighters at different weights.
Yeah.
Do you have to change your methods as such for each fighter, or?
Yeah, well, each fighter, you know, needs a certain level of catering to and a training style that suits them. I think it's best to have to let the fighter sort of have in my style of training is let the fighter be vocal about what they feel what's best for them, and obviously you can observe them and what's best for them. You know, working with heavyweights is completely different to working with a smaller weight. So, for example, I got Adam Mohammed who's fighting at bantamweight and Courtney who's fighting at heavyweight. So it's like two opposite ends of the scale, and you can't train them both the same. You can have a similar roundabout structure, but they both require different types of training. You know. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I
So
think so. It's definitely enjoyable working with both of them. It keeps you on your toes having to change it up. You know.
definitely keeps you progressing as a trainer as well.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I agree. I
Uh,
agree.
Courtney, just going back to you mentioned, obviously you've got a daughter, you've got a full time at the moment. How much hunger and drive does your daughter give you for your?
Oh, she gives me a lot because don't get me wrong, I never had a bad bringing up. My mom and dad always tried to give me everything I wanted. So I didn't have a bad bringing up, but I just want to give my daughter a better life than I had growing up. On the scale of if she wants something or she needs something, I can be able to provide it with her just like that. Do you know what I'm saying? So she does give me a lot of drive, especially she's 7 at the moment. So now she's at the age, oh, dad, I want to start playing boxing, and dad, I want to do this, dad, I want to do that. So yeah, it's good at the moment, and she does give me a lot of drive.
If she comes to you in say 10 years' time, says she wants a career in boxing, would you let her box?
Yeah, I can't say if she wants to. I wouldn't want her to personally, but if she wanted to, then there's not much I can say. That I want to let my children, or my child, should I say, do what she wants to do in life, whether it's boxing or anything else.
Talk to me, Courtney, a little bit about Don as a trainer. Don's been around the game for a long, long time. What is he like to work with day in, day out?
Very, very. I think he's a very, very excellent trainer. I'm not just saying it because he trains me, but even when I first started training with him, there was like little things he was teaching me, and I was like, oh yeah, that works well. And me and him get along. Like I look at him as an older brother. Get along. Like the first day I met him, it's like there was no awkwardness, no like silence or whatever. We were just training and keep going. And he knows when I come to the gym, there's some days I might be like, oh, a bit flat, a bit down, and he would know. And he'd tell you like, oh, cool, listen, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. So yeah, I think he's a good trainer, not just in the way he does, that speaks to me in sparring, does pads, not even just in that sense. I think all round, like, and as a friend as well. I think having that relationship as a friend makes it even better because, as I said, that he can tell me certain things without me getting, oh, do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think he's a good trainer, a very good trainer.
Mentioned obviously trainer and training. Talked about your sparring. Any top names? Who's the hardest spar you've had? Obviously, as a heavyweight, there's a lot of big names, especially in Britain.
I would say Joe Joyce if I'm honest with you. That I sparred him, I think it was 2019. And like everyone knows Joyce for his tank and stuff. But I'm a first sparred, never sparred him before. First went there and he just come out steaming at me, and I was thinking, what the fuck is this? And normally the first time he's like a bit wary of like, oh, what's he gonna do? He didn't, none of that. He just come out steaming. And I was like, fucking no. We sparred well. I think we done 4 rounds that day. But yeah, it was a good spar. But I think yeah, Joyce is definitely the most toughest spar I've had. Yeah.
Did you learn a lot from that spar from Joyce?
Yeah, most definitely. I think, especially, I think like you ain't got to wait to see what your opponent's got before you start doing what you need to do. Just go out there and do what you need to do, and then you can make your opponent do like work off your kind of thing. And that's what he done with me basically. I basically worked off his kind of thing. But then when I sparred him again, it was a bit different. It was like, because I kind of sparred him before, it was a bit more of a proper spar, I would say.
And Don, for you, from a trainer point of view, looking in and watching the spars,
Yeah.
what do you take from the spars that Courtney has, and how much do you see Courtney progressing in the gym?
Oh, I see a lot of great potential in Courtney, and not even just potential, just where he is at now. He's a phenomenal fighter. He's so intelligent. I think that's what he's as a pro is going to show his level of intelligence and his smarts in the rings, because there's some fighters that just fight without thinking. They just mindless and just throw whatever they feel to do. But you can see Courtney is very calculative when he boxes. He's very smart. He's looking for openings. So even speaking to him, it's like you've got a coach mindset, but most fighters don't have coach mindset, so it's hard to communicate with them. But when during rounds and stuff, I'll explain something to Courtney, he gets it straight away. And it's like, he'll explain to me, oh, I'm trying to get this and it's like, we just click, we're on the same page, and you're going to see in the future what he can bring to the table now. And just the future is going to be a whole different level. You know what I mean? His development, even since his last fight, since he's come in, we're not at our fight date yet. We're still away, but he's already looking, better than he did at any point last camp. 10 times better. So this just shows the progression that is really gonna come through, and it's gonna be mind-boggling. I think a lot of people are gonna cotton on very soon.
You mentioned he listens, he takes on information well. How
Yeah.
vital is that as a coach, especially during a fight as well? Between rounds, you haven't got long together. How important is it for you to be able to get your message across and know it's sunk in?
Yeah, very important. I mean, as your job as a coach, it's not your job to be able to. You can't always rely on the fighter to listen to everything you say. I mean, you've got to be able to, as a coach, deliver it that they receive it. So some fighters need what the fuck are you doing? And then that wakes them up. And then some fighters need you got to do this. And some fighters need something different. So you as a coach need to be adaptable. Once you find that nice happy place that you and your fighter are on the same wavelength, you figure it out in the gym, you know how to speak to them, and then they take in the information. So I think as coaches, we got to bear that responsibility on ourselves. We can't put too much to the coach, to the fighter to listen. It's got to be to us to deliver the message that they will receive it. Especially in the heat of battle. It's very hard when you're in the middle of a fight to be getting instructions. You're in a fight. You know what I mean? So is key. I think communication and deliverance is key.
Definitely. Cool. Don there mentioned your potential, where you could be, and people are soon going to see, just what you can do in the future. Anyone who's seen the amateur scene for the last few years will know who you are. They'll know your name. They'll know you are a prospect. They will know your potential in the heavyweight game. Heavyweight is, as they say, the money division, but also it's the division where anything can happen. One shot can change everything.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in, say, 12 months' time?
12 months' time, to be fair, I'm just at this moment, I'm just looking at fight by fight. So when I get one fight out of the way, then we go to the next fight, and then once that fight's out of the way, 12 months' time, I would say I've had one at the moment. 12 months' time, I would say I want to have about 4 or 5 fights and see where I am from there, as in the opponents I'm beating, etc., etc. If I'm pushing for titles, or if my manager comes up to me and says, "Oh, listen, there's a title fight here. If I feel that I'm ready, then yeah, most definitely I'll go there and do it." So I'm not scared to fight anyone. I'll get in the ring with any man. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So yeah, 12 months' time, I'll just see where it brings me.
Absolutely. Fighters will always fight. Like I say, it is down to your manager and your team. Don, for yourself, is that, something that you would consider, say, 12 months down the line, if he's had, 3, 4, 5 good fights in him, would you look at potentially titles in 2024?
We'll see, whatever lays out for him, me and the team will obviously sit down and have a discussion and make the right choice based on wherever we are at the time. There's no rushing him at the same time, because he spent a lot of time as an amateur, and not all pros do you need to throw him in. But if he's ready, we go. If wherever he's at, we move. And I think it's a team discussion. And once we're ready to go, we'll definitely step. At this point, Courtney's ready to fight anyone. So at this point, and he's never gonna back down. I could throw him and say, "Oh, you're fighting so tomorrow." He'll be like, "All right, cool, let's go." That's him. But then he's got a team behind him that make sure that we make the right decisions that are for his career to benefit him. You know what I mean? So that's where we're moving.
Definitely. Courtney, looking back at your debut, how was it to get your debut out of the way, your professional debut? You're only gonna get one of them. How was that?
Yeah, it was good. It was a bit of a last minute change of opponent. And that didn't phase me. I just still got in there, still done the job. It was a different experience. I've boxed all over the world and whatever, but I've never boxed in front of like so much people of my own. They're cheering me on and stuff. So it gave me a bit more extra fire in my belly to go out there and want to perform. But yeah, it was a good. I think it was not a bad debut. It was a decent debut.
For those who don't know, haven't been to an amateur tournament or anything like that at all, just how different is the crowd at a pro fight compared to an amateur?
Yeah, especially with my kind of like the kind of crowd I bring along, like everyone's a bit loud. When you're in amateurs, everyone like you got your like so when I was on GB, you had your GB boys cheering you on, the coaches and whatever. But then when you go to a fight, you got like people just there screaming, shouting. Like I had people making up chants like on my debut, and I've never had that before, so it was a bit of a weird one. I could hear it, and it just gave me that extra bit of drive. But yeah, it's a big difference in my opinion.
A lot of fighters will say they, it would drown it out. They won't listen to it, and all the crowd noise, it doesn't affect them. But I just can't see how that can be true in some cases. For yourself, do you soak that up? Do you like that atmosphere?
Yeah, I do like it. When I went on my first tournament with GB, it was my first time. Because as an amateur, I would always bring up, no matter where I box, there'd always be about 20 people come and watch me box, and I could always hear everyone screaming, "Oh, go on, Courtney," whatever. When I went to my first amateur tournament, obviously it was not long after COVID, so it was a bit like, everyone was like kind of quiet, and it wasn't people was clapping and cheering and stuff, but it wasn't that loud what I'm used to. So it was a bit of a strange one to me, but I do like soaking up the people chanting for me and etc. etc. Especially if I land a good shot and everyone goes, "Oh, like, I like all them, I like them things." Yeah.
Talk about your next fight, March the 3rd, be a second fight.
Yeah.
How looking forward to it, are you?
Yeah, I'm as Don said, I was at the gym for 2 weeks after because I had a bit of a slight niggle in my hand, but everything's back to normal. So I had 2 weeks at the gym, back in the gym after that, and then we've just been going on since. And I'm feeling how I'm feeling now. I'm feeling, as Don said, I'm feeling better and better and better and better as each week goes on.
Absolutely. Like you said there, Don, you mentioned, obviously, he has progressed already just from his first fight.
Yeah.
So, building, looking forward, he's already progressing at a rapid pace. Just how much further can he go? Even just
all the way. Courtney's he's so talented. I think with being an amateur, he was always trying to fit into a particular mold and a particular style, especially a style for amateur boxing. When now he's got the ability to be himself. He's free. There's no chains on him. There's no you must box this way. No, he's boxing the way he wants to box now, and a style that suits him. And for that reason alone, I believe he can go all the way to the top. I've seen Courtney, on his day, and he's just like the geezer's untouchable on his day. You know what I mean? So he can bang. He's smart. He's intelligent. You're going to see him in the future amongst this young heavyweight crop that's going forward. All the cream will rise to the top, and I'm sure he will rise. And we'll see it.
Obviously, Don, you've obviously been around the game for a long time. You worked in a matchroom gym previously. You've been around the guys who are well established. With Courtney, just how you mentioned he can go all the way, but how good and how early did you spot his potential?
Well, his potential from I think the first time he came down. When during COVID times he came down a bit more consistent. when he wasn't on GB. And I think that's when it really hit me, because obviously I'd worked with a lot of boys down at Matchroom, and them boys are really, they were, when I got there, they were pretty much established. Tony had worked for them for a long period of time, so there was little mistakes that younger guys would be making they wouldn't make. So when I first went on my own and started my own gym, I had Adam Mohammed, I took him on at 17. And as a 17-year-old, you can imagine the amount of mistakes he was making compared to a guy who's like 26, 28, 29, some of the boys at Matchroom, right? And experienced pros. And also had Maisie Rose as well. And I had a few other young fighters, Tino Bellet, and they were all young. But when Courtney came in, you could see he was refined, and that's what it brought me back to the days of Matchroom, when I was padding him, and I was like, yeah, see, and just being able to explain something to him one time and he gets it, is just like, he's an experienced fighter. He's refined. No, I don't have to go over and over it with him. Whereas some of the younger fighters, you might have to go over 3-4 times with him. Sometimes for a longer period of time, you've got to drill it in. But with Court, you can see he's experienced, he's knowledgeable, and his experience showed when I started working. So during that period, during the lockdown, that was when I first figured out, wow, Montana, and I saw him spar a fighter there, and he threw a big right hand, and I thought, woo, and he hurt the guy. I was like, yeah. And even one of my friends who's a boxing fanatic, he watched it because I like Courtney. I was like, yeah, he's a good fighter. So, from then I kind of knew, when he came down a bit more frequent, I was like, wow, I knew I was on the start. So as soon as he said he was ready to turn pro, I was like, yep, let's go. I was excited. I was excited to work with him, because just to see the best of him to come through, yeah, is exciting. I'm as excited as every fan should be,
Absolutely. And just last question, Courtney, obviously Don mentioned there you're very refined when you come into the gym. You're not, making mistakes that some of the more rookie fighters were making, let's say. For yourself, how was the transition to the professional ranks? Was it fairly easy for you?
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't say it was easy, but I wouldn't say it was hard. Being at GB for 3 years, like you get used to boxing a certain way, bouncing your toes a bit more. So there was a few sessions. Once Don was like, "Listen, you got to not be so bouncy. You got to sit on your shots a bit more, etc., etc." So once I had a few sessions on that and I learned how to do it, that was kind of my style anyway. As Don said before, I'm not really a guy that likes bouncing on his feet. I've got quite good foot movement for a big guy, but I'm not bouncing on my feet. So yeah, the transition wasn't too bad, to be honest.
With that, it sounds like you're trying to sort of sit down on your shots. Will that bring more knockouts in the pro ranks compared to your amateur record?
Yeah, most definitely. I reckon so because yeah, I'm not the massive of a puncher, but I think I'm a big puncher. If I catch you clean, it's gonna hurt and you will get knocked out.
Just to flip it and play devil's advocate, does it also make it more dangerous? Are you more susceptible to a knockout in the pro ranks compared to the amateurs?
I think my defense is quite my head movement and that, especially working with Don. Don's always on to me about, oh, you got to move your head, you got to move your head. So I never neglect my defense at the same time. As if I'm looking for a shot, and I never go looking for a big shot. So me doing that, it's amateur, it's a pro game, so you can get hit by one shot, and as you said, it's heavyweights. Never know what can happen, but I don't think it will personally.
No, I won't. He's got good defense, Courtney. He's an intelligent fighter. He's going to take a lot to get him out of there. Ain't no, you know what I mean? So it's going to take one hell of a man. You know what I mean?
Don, the last one for you. Just obviously, I've mentioned, the heavyweight scene is booming at the minute. Is there any heavyweights at the minute that you could compare any of Courtney's attributes to?
Not really. I think that's what's exciting about Courtney. He's unique in his own way. He's got a style that works for him, and he's going to be his own fighter. We often compare fighters. Oh, he's the next so and so, isn't it? He's just the next Courtney Bennett, and that's who he is. And I love the fact that he's himself, and he can be himself, and he is himself. So, once in the next coming fights, you're going to see it come through, and I believe this next one you're going to see it the best so far. You're going to see the best version of Courtney Bennett in the next fight, I believe, and then from then everyone will see.
Perfect. I won't keep you no longer. Don, Courtney, thank you very much both for your time, and I'll see you both much more.
Cheers. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Cheers, James. Thanks as always,
Cheers.
mate. Pleasure.
No worries at all. We speak soon.